It's Wednesday, just after 7 p.m. In an apartment not too far from the city center, a group of men and women in their late 20s discuss how to thrive in their rapidly changing nation. All are members of China's new privileged class, highly educated, cosmopolitan, middle or even upper class of urban professionals. And they're all Christians.
We've never had it so good in China today. But there's more to life than just money and materialism.
Worship God, worship heaven.
Jia Litian works for one of Beijing's largest tour operators. Like young urban professionals in other parts of the world, he and his peers live in high-rise apartment buildings. They own a car, sometimes two. They are tech-savvy, they travel, they have money to spend. But the pressure to succeed and thrive is fierce.
The competition for jobs in the big cities is intense. Status is everything. How much you make, how big is your apartment, what kind of car you drive. This is what people focus on.
The government makes it possible for us to earn money and have a good life. But how do we handle all these pressures? The government doesn't have answers for this.
And it is in this rapidly changing society that religion, especially Christianity, finds itself filling a spiritual void.
I'm a different person today.
23-year-old Zhe Kun joins the growing rank of those in these cities who are embracing Christianity in record numbers.
The last couple of years have been difficult for me. I have struggled professionally and personally. But then someone introduced me to Jesus, and now I have a different outlook on my life.
This is music to the ears of Zhu's pastor.
God called me to start a church to reach these young people with the gospel.
Jin Tiangming leads Shuwang, one of the largest unregistered, sometimes called underground churches in Beijing. A graduate of China's most prestigious university, Jin's church began 18 years ago with 10 people. Now, close to 1,000 attend his weekly service.
The majority of them have graduated from college and work in the city. We have lawyers, professors, doctors, business people.
He says similar gatherings are springing up in other big cities, attracting the white-collar working world.
They are looking for ways to handle the dramatic changes in China, and they're finding answers in Christianity.
Back at the apartment, Jia Litian helps run a Bible study for new converts in the city. He says this is the new face of Christianity in China. Such believers are part of what some are calling China's third church.
But
Peter, not his real name, has worked with China's underground churches for decades. CBN News agreed to conceal his identity to protect him.
They're called the Third Church because they're very different than what used to be the only two real kinds of churches in China, which were the registered church, registered with the government, and then the unregistered churches, usually called house churches, which thrived in the countryside in the 70s and 80s. But then after the 1989 demonstrations, these urban, educated, well-to-do Christians started forming urban churches.
And while Christianity continues to grow in China's countryside, it is here in the big cities like Beijing that experts say the church is growing the fastest.
Whereas the rural church was not able to have an impact on society as a whole, the third church in the cities is able to do that because they're comprised of leaders who can have an impact. Businessmen, government officials, professors, leaders in engineering, every aspect of life.
Pastor Jin's congregation is technically an illegal gathering. You see, he hasn't registered his church with the government, nor is it part of any of the state-sanctioned churches. But rather than hide from authorities, Jin and others who lead such congregations in the big cities want to work with the government officials. But let's be clear, the Chinese government maintains a tight grip on religion. Torture, arrests, imprisonment, and beatings of Christians are still practiced, yet the authorities in recent years have made positive overtures toward leaders of the house church, especially those in the urban areas.
The church in China is growing, and Christianity is becoming more and more a part of mainstream society. The authorities know this, and they're showing a willingness to work with us.
A gesture welcomed by these young believers as they use faith to navigate the opportunities and challenges of China today. George Thomas, CBN News, Beijing.